Today I'm talking about show up. You know, maybe you've heard that 90% of what we need to accomplish is just showing up. But there is something that's important before we show up. And I want to talk a little bit about Matthew chapter 4. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the four Gospels that we have in the Christian Scriptures, the New Testament. And in Matthew chapter 4, it says that Jesus was led into the desert by the Spirit to be tempted of the devil and fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, as a kid, this made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. So imagine little Timmy in Sunday school who often was asking questions, because if something didn't make sense to me, I would ask questions. And sometimes the teachers didn't necessarily want questions, but I wanted to ask them, because I said, how could the Spirit lead Jesus to the wilderness to be tempted of the devil? That makes no sense. I mean, what? God is leading us to be tempted of the, and they would try to explain. But later on in my life, what I came to realize is that before we can really show up in power, we need to first find the power within. We need to find the inner source. There's an inner journey, and then there's an outer journey. If a person does the outer journey without doing their inner work, then it's going to come across sometimes harsh, sometimes phony, sometimes just driven by ego. If a person is only doing their inner stuff and is never getting out into the world, they're having a great time by themselves, but how is it touching others? How do we intersect the inner journey and the outer journey? Jesus, for 40 days and 40 nights, the number 40 representing completion, representing fullness, Jesus allowed himself to go through a wilderness experience. Have you ever been in the wilderness in your life? And, you might be thinking, first of all, like a literal place. Like I've gone camping in the desert of Utah, close to Arches National Park. I love being out in the desert. I've been in some wilderness areas. I've been in lots of woods and mountains, lots of backpacking. But have you ever been in an inner wilderness where what you thought turned out to not be the truth? What you thought was all settled and everything is going to be well didn't turn out that way. Have you ever been there? Yeah? How many of you have ever been in a wilderness experience? Let me just see my audience here. Okay. There have been times in my life where I thought I had everything figured out, and then the whole thing was turned upside down and shaken up. As it says in the book of Hebrews, God says, yet once more I will shake everything that can be shaken, so that that which is unshakable shall remain. So we all go through a great shake-up or a great shakedown, where we get down to the real core of who we are. This is the wilderness. Now, in the case of Moses in the Hebrew Scriptures, how long was he in the wilderness? 40 years. That's a little longer than 40 days. 40 years. Oh my goodness. Where's the GPS? Where's the guide? Really, Moses? It took 40 years to figure out how to get to the promised land? I can just imagine the wife. Why don't you ask directions? So for 40 years, they're wandering around in the desert and the wilderness. But that's all in preparation, just as it was with Jesus, just as it was with the people of Israel. It is essential for us to go through the wilderness in order for us to really show up in our power, to really show up in our purpose, to really show up for what we are here to do. Now this has been kind of a series. Maybe you didn't know it was a series, but this has been kind of a series. I've been encouraging you to think about, what is your mission? What is the one thing that your life is really about? Last week I used the passage of Scripture from Matthew where Jesus talked about a jeweler who gave all that he had just so he could purchase this pearl of great price. What is the one thing in your life for which you are striving? What is the one thing in your life that propels you forward? What is the thing in your life that makes your heart sing? What is it in your life that brings joy? What is it in your life that aligns you with the power of Spirit? What is it in your life that stretches you so much that it cannot be accomplished except by the power of God? If you don't have something like that, I want to continue to urge you to find that, to seek that. It's in you. As Rumi said, all of us have come here for an important work, and it has been placed in each heart. Each one of us has this purpose. Each one of us has this. But some people have lost touch with it. Hence the wilderness. Sometimes the wilderness experience could be a prolonged sickness that really takes us to the core of our being. Sometimes it's a relationship breakup. Sometimes it's going through a mental health crisis. Sometimes it's going through an audit with the IRS. Ooh, I got some moans on that one. Preacher. Whatever it might be in your life, there are things in our lives that take us to the wilderness. And in unity, unfortunately, sometimes we think we must not be doing things right. Because in unity, we teach very positive, practical principles for spiritual living. And so I often will have people come to me for counseling or spiritual direction, and they will say, I just have this sadness or this fear, or, and they want to know, how do I get rid of it? And I offer a different solution, and I always make sure I'm at least a leg or arm's distance away. Serious. I say, how about embracing it? How about letting it teach you? How about holding on to it? Now, is it this Friday that we have the diamond necklace? So this Friday at what time? 6:30 p.m. in this chapel? And everybody's invited? And they can get one of the QR codes and get a ticket, or they can just show up? Wow, what a deal. What a deal. Lucy Lynch and Marcia Zena Major. And Lucy, you're getting ready to go to Germany. How soon?
6th of September.
6th of September, moving back to Germany.
Moving forward to Europe.
All right. Okay. All right. So in that particular movie, drama that they put together, and they sing and they perform and do things, there's this, and I don't want to give too much away, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of a teaser. There's often a search for something else. Like something else out there surely can make me happy. Something else out there, if I could make a little bit more money, if I could acquire a little bit more of material stuff, if I could get the stuff they advertise about on TV, maybe I'll finally be happy. Or get a husband. If you're interested, please see Benita. But we assume no liability. So, the diamond necklace represents that we have already what we need. That everything we need is already here. But they'll take us on a journey, and I would call it a wilderness experience. There's humor in it. There's music. But it's a wilderness experience. And when I've studied Joseph Campbell, if you've ever heard of Joseph Campbell, like The Power of Myth, the hero with 1,000 faces, Joseph Campbell talked about the hero's journey. By the way, his wife Jean was a member of this church, and they had connections with this church. But they talked about the hero's journey. And on this, there was the call to adventure. And then it comes on around, and there are mentors, and there are guides that are met. And then there's the abyss. And this takes me back to Jesus and Timmy in Sunday school, trying to figure out, why did Jesus have to go through the wilderness first? Why? And again, I ask this. He was Jesus. You tell me that he's God. Why did he have to go through something? Well, if you study the New Testament, again in the book of Hebrews, the book of Hebrews says that Jesus experienced maturity and perfection by all the things that he suffered. That implies that there was growth in his life. And it's the same with us. We need those things to help us to grow. It's not an accident that some of the closest people in my life are people in recovery, because they've hit bottom at some point. They've gone through the wilderness experience. For some of them, it's been a terrible, terrible wilderness. And it's opened them up to new spiritual truth in their lives. Realizing that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So the wilderness helps us to get in touch with our core, helps us to get in touch with God, helps us to get in touch with Spirit. If you think about anyone that has in some way touched the world in a powerful way, I guarantee you they went through a wilderness experience at least one time. They had to. Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi. You could just list whoever you want. Anybody who's really touched people and touched the world has gone through a wilderness experience. In the wilderness, there is a cleaning up process that occurs. Cleaning up of some of that stuff that we were attached to. Cleaning up of the old programming. Cleaning up of the error thinking. Cleaning up of the distractions. As James in the New Testament says in James chapter 1 verse 8, that you don't receive because you're double-minded. You're distracted. You're distracted. Instead of, and this is where I go back to Soren Kierkegaard, purity of heart is to will one thing. Instead of focusing on what is real, what is absolute. When we go through the wilderness, there's a cleansing that occurs. Cleansing of the stuff that no longer belongs. It's a purifying place. It's also a place for us to grow up. We don't always hear this in spirituality. We will hear about awakening. We will hear about showing up. But we don't always hear about cleaning up and growing up. We need to clean up and grow up. There are a lot of wonderful gurus and teachers, like in India. And I've had 2 extended pilgrimages in India. But there's a lot of the charlatans too. They can tell you about waking up, but they themselves have not cleaned up or grown up. Some of you may have experienced some of those. In building the beloved community here, which is what we're doing, and by the way, when I shared the inconvenient truth about ministries that are being in decline, this ministry I see as continuing to grow. This ministry is continuing to assist people in transformation of their lives. This ministry is continuing to inspire people to make a positive difference in the world. That's showing up. But the wilderness helps us to clean up and grow up so that we can show up. So we can show up in integrity. And here's my homework assignment for you. I expected applause. Homework! Yes. Maybe you want to write it down or just commit it to memory or watch this again. Here's your homework assignment. In what ways does your life show what is most important to you? Your homework assignment also includes looking at your life. You may say, this is important to you. Does your life show it? If not, then there's cleaning up and growing up to do. Right? We're here to show up, to be that presence. You know, I kind of issued a little, I don't know when this was, 2 or 3 weeks ago maybe? I don't know. I lose track. But because every Sunday is like those Buddhists that with colored sand create these elaborate mandalas, and then it's all blown away as soon as they finish. That's how every Sunday is for me. I work on the message, and then it's all blown away, and I work on the next one. And people ask me, what did you talk about last Sunday? I'll go, So you can always watch this again. But in what ways does your life show what is really important to you? Because the way we show up is a very strong indicator of what is really important to us. If a person says that other people are really important to them, but they step on others to get what they want, something's not in integrity there, right? They have a divided mind. Now again, I had issued this challenge like 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe longer, I don't know, that we are building a beloved community here. It's up to all of us. It's not just up to me. I mean, I love interacting with people. I'm interacting with people every day in Kapiolani Park, at the beach, you know, and we're talking about spiritual things, we're praying together, whatever. It's just what I do. When I was selling men's clothes, that's what I did at Dillard's, you know. I'd sell clothes and then we'd do some counseling, and I can't help it. You are out there in the world. You are showing up. Bless you. And I was inviting you to maybe not keep unity the best kept secret in the world. To invite some other folks. Let them know. Out yourself. Yeah, I go to Unity. Would you like to go? And some of you have done that. You've done it today. I see it. Show up in the world. How do you show up? How do you touch other people's lives? How are other people's lives transformed by your presence? How are lives different because of how you're showing up? And are you doing the cleaning up and growing up so that you can really show up? Again, that musical, comedy, drama, the diamond necklace that's going to be this Friday at 6:30, it all kind of emphasizes really finding out how we can touch the world and ourselves in a whole new way. Bring some people to that. Bring some folks on Sundays. We also have classes, and I don't know, the last Thursday of August, when is that? A week from this Thursday, we're going to have Bible study online. We've been going through the Gospel of John. There's a number of ways you can get involved here. We're going to be starting spirit groups, I hope soon, small groups where we really minister to each other, connect with each other. But we're here to show up. I'm thinking of numerous people. One incident comes to mind. I was in a grocery store in Wichita, Kansas. It's where I grew up. I was a hospital chaplain there for 28 years. I worked in psychiatry. I worked in intensive care. I worked in trauma services. And worked in physical rehab hospital. And so I was in grocery store. I don't know about you, but, well, it's different now. I do go to grocery stores to meet people now. But then I normally went to the grocery store just to get groceries. And so I'm wanting to get groceries, wanting to get in line. And I hear this person, Chaplain Tim! Chaplain Tim! I'm like, oh my gosh, who is it? What's going on? And this person comes running across the store while I'm getting ready to get in line. Chaplain Tim. And comes up to me. I'm saying, God, help me. I don't remember this person. Just help me. What do I? And this person says, takes hold of me. You will never know how you changed my life. I'm thinking, she's right. But I'm so grateful. I'm feeling very grateful. And I'm like, oh, wow. Well, how did that happen? What was it that changed your life? And this person had been a client, a patient in psychiatry. And this person told me how their life had completely changed and transformed by my ministry with her. And I was like, wow. I didn't even know. You don't know how you're touching other people. But when you show up as you really are, when you show up as your highest and authentic self, when you show up in the power of Spirit, when you let it flow and let it go and show up, lives are changed and transformed. And that's what we're here for. To transform lives and inspire people to make a positive difference in our world. Thank you for showing up. God bless. Okay. At this time, we'll go into a short time of meditation. This helps us to kind of go into the silence and center into the truth of what we've been talking about. So I invite you, if you would like, take a deep breath. You can close your eyes or relax your gaze, whatever you'd like to do. Just be comfortable. Take in and out a slow, deep breath. You might breathe into that heart space. And as we breathe into that heart space, God, we know you are here. You are here. Wherever we are, you are. You are here in our heart. You are here in our lives. And you are here to help us, to empower us, to show up in this world, to show up as your love, to show up as your light, to show up as your peace, as your presence. And let us go into the silence as we center into that. We give thanks, God, for this beloved community. We give thanks for all of our love streamers, for all those who are here in person. We give thanks, Spirit, for your presence here. And we give thanks that you've chosen us to be the light of the world, to bring your love, your light to each person we meet. We give thanks and we say together, and so it is. Amen.